Today I wanted to talk about my affection for older technology. Growing up as a child, my family wasn't very affluent. As a matter of fact, I was an 80s child graduating in the late 90s, and we never even had a home computer. I had to type all my term papers for high school on a typewriter. My first computer was something that I literally pulled out of a garbage can. A radio station I worked for was throwing out equipment, and they said that for legal reasons they could not just give me the equipment, but if I were to pull it from the trash, I could have it. So I pulled a computer from the trash, refurbed it, and used it for quite some time. Fast forward to today, and I have enough money to buy the computers that I want. As you've seen, I own a latest generation Framework 16-inch laptop, but I still go back and try to find older tech that I can still use. I'm very fortunate as well to have a local thrift computer store in town, and I go in there every single week looking for deals and older computers. I've built a gaming desktop for both of my children, and I've acquired some non-functional Dell rugged laptops. Today's video is going to be about one of those rugged laptops. It is, in fact, this rugged laptop here. This is the Latitude Rugged Extreme 7204, and it's got a problem. So at first glance, it doesn't seem like anything's really wrong with this computer. It powers on. The flickering you see on the keyboard there is due to the camera. It's not actually doing that. So the actual issue only happens when I enable the touchscreen. So we're going to restart the computer, because this is a rugged 2-in-1 device. So it acts as a tablet and has it's not the same touchscreen you'd find on your iPad. It's a special touchscreen that they use. It's like a almost capacitive touchscreen, because this has to be able to be used in like harsh conditions. Think of your extreme hot, extreme cold situations, and you have to be able to use this with gloves and everything as well. So like I said, we're going to go into our setup here, and I'm going to go into the touchscreen. I'm just going to enable the touchscreen. Like I said, the touchscreen on this device is one where there's like an outer membrane over the screen. And so what happens over time with these is that the outer membrane will start to touch the inner screen, and so you get phantom touches all over the screen. And what that will do for someone who's just trying to use the computer as a computer is that will cause the mouse to stop working. And I'll see if I can get it to replicate that here. It doesn't do it all the time, but like I didn't pick that up and it just started moving all around. But I've tried to do some fixes I found online, some of which involve like using a heat gun across the screen, and that's helped a little. Like it's actually better than it was before. Before, like the computer would just start moving the mouse, the mouse would get stuck on one side of the screen. But now that I'm actually trying to show you, it's not going to do it. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to shut the computer down, and we're going to replace the entire LCD screen. Now, as this is a rugged laptop, there are some unusual ways to go about doing this. I did pick up a replacement on eBay for this part. It was relatively inexpensive. It was like $40. First things first, I am going to take the battery out. Okay, I can just remove any worry about getting shocked, or actually not really getting shocked, but shorting out the computer. So I haven't found a good way to go about this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here. We're going to take all these screws out. Get a little bit more light. And with a rugged laptop, there are screws going around everywhere. So we've got screws on the bottom, screws on the top, and screws on the side. But once we get those out of the way, it should be a rather quick fix. Right here on this side, there's screws here and there's screws here. I'm not going to take these screws out because these screws are just holding the screen itself onto this bracket. Thankfully, on a device such as this, Dell does use the same size screws in these places, so I don't have to worry about mapping them out or anything like that. And the computer does work fine without replacing the screen, but the screen was so inexpensive that I just decided that I wanted to try it out. Plus, I really want to run Linux on this instead of Windows, and with the touch drivers, or the screen drivers anyway, I've had a lot of problems installing any kind of Linux on here that's sustainable. Things keep failing, sound doesn't work, random stuff. So I know that there are official Ubuntu images for Dell laptops, so maybe I'll try one of those out. But I'd really like to put Arch Linux on here. All right, so we've got all the screws out. So now I should just be able to gently take the back off. This is our back panel removed. And here we have everything that will need to come off in order to get the screen out. I'm going to make sure that that's all I need to do by taking out the replacement part and comparing and contrasting. We may actually have to take the entire thing off the hinges to do that. There's our replacement screen. And yes, it looks like I am going to have to take out those 4 screws on either side. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to disconnect. No, I don't need to do that. I just need to disconnect these wires going here, and that should be all I have to do. So using plastic tweezers, don't mess anything up here. Should just be able to wiggle that guy out. Then there's another little thing right here, which just goes to the vibrate motor. And actually, all of that's got to come out. But we'll take the cable off first, just to be able to separate the two. Just pull that out. There we go. So I've got to remember to take that vibrate motor out because for whatever reason this thing has a vibrate motor. I haven't quite figured out why. And we'll disconnect this cable, which is the actual display cable, so I have to be very careful with that. So as far as the channel goes, since I do enjoy doing repairs on things, I think I'm gonna be focused a little while on that. As a matter of fact, someone who's become an acquaintance of mine recently, he and I were talking on Reddit, and in a conversation that started off about computer clubs in our area, he said that he had a bunch of Commodores and that if I was interested, I could take them off his hands. And so I did, and now I have a whole stack of Commodore 64s, 128s, and a myriad of other things, tons of software. So I'm going to be going through processes on how I'm learning to repair those and get them back into, I wouldn't say a completely restored state because some of them are well beyond that, but getting back to a state where they're usable, and then play around with like upgrading and things like that. So if you're into that sort of stuff, let me know in the comments what you would like to see, and maybe I can make a video on it. Okay, so this is what happens when you don't realize that you've put your replacement screen down on your keyboard. The video got stopped because the keyboard got hit. I have removed the bracket here holding the camera in place, and now we are down to pulling the 4 screws out of here on either side to release the screen from the bracket. So we are turning the old LCD this way. And again, thankfully, all of these screws are the same size. Even the one I just dropped on the floor. A pro tip, if you are going to work on computers like this, probably don't have a black floor mat on your floor. It makes it impossible to find pretty much anything. I thought it would be helpful for this channel and the other channel when I got it, because I also have a watch channel, if you didn't know. And it makes it just as hard to find silver watch pieces and screws as it does to find anything else. So maybe there's a better color out there. I'm not really sure. But as long as I'm mindful and clean up, sweep before I start working, usually I can find anything. I've only lost like 2 watch parts the entire time I've been making watch videos, and I've yet to lose a major computer part. So, all right, and now we're at the last screw here. So, in theory, it should just come right off the hinges. Go, that's one side, and there's the other side. There's our old monitor, our old screen out. We'll take the new screen. Slide it right into the place of the other one. Making sure that our little rubber grommet here for the display cables is right in line where it should be. Which I should have done before I put everything back together. Line that back up. Snap that back into place. Good. Rotate. Get our screws back in that hold the screen in. What I'm going to do is flip the whole thing around, put a screw in on the other side, so that way both sides are being held in place. And both brackets are in place. Now that that's done, I can add the rest of the screws for the brackets. There we go. Now, we've got all of that lined up. Everything's back in place. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to add our camera. And I believe the microphone's in here as well. Add that back in. This is actually probably easier than a lot of other screens that I've had to deal with recently. That goes there. There we go. Then we'll put our screen cable back in, or display cable. Lines up just so. And then before we put the last two cables on, I do need to pull the vibrate motor out. And I think all I need to do for that is to just pry up a little bit. It's coming right out. I think it's just taped in, to be honest. So we'll put this guy right back in here. And hold on to it. Okay, it's more of a friction fit. There's a little piece of like foam rubber or something in there that friction fits into place. We just connect our two wires back together. And we'll put this back into place. There we go. Get him back into place. Tuck the wire in there. Add our foam back into place there. One last connector. Goes in like that. Before we lock everything down for good, I am going to test to make sure that this new screen is working. So we'll need to put the battery back in. No real harm in doing that at this point. Power. What did I miss? Let's see. Make sure that our... Oop. Maybe we didn't miss anything. Maybe I was just being impatient. Valid configuration. Okay, that's fine. I know that. That would be the BIOS battery or the CMOS battery. All right, screen is coming on. This was a direct OEM replacement. These things are horrible for catching fingerprints, though. So that's nothing that's going to change. Screen's working. Again, that flickering is just due to the frame rate on the camera. The LEDs that are underneath it. All right, let's see. Hey, look at that. We've got a start menu that comes up. I can touch that. I can move things around. Yeah, that works good. All right. So now that that's working, we'll shut this thing down. And I'll put the rest of the screws in. Put the rest of the screws in after I put the back on. And what we'll do is we'll spin the display back, power it on one more time. I'll hang on to this old display probably. It's working except for the touch screen, so somebody might find some use for it. Maybe I'll sell it. Yeah. Okay, so I reached out to the company that sold me this, and they were kind enough to send me a replacement since the other one was malfunctioning the way The original one was just in a different corner. Now, what I have done, not so that I don't bore you to tears, is I've gone ahead and put the new one in. I am going to do a power on test just with the screen installed. I'm not going to put the back on quite yet because I want to see if the issue is actually with these screens or if it's with the back somehow. So we're going to see this guy powers on. Yeah, the company, they sent me a brand new one. Here's the original replacement they sent me. Let me just make sure I've got all the cables plugged in here. There we go. Fine. Just going to make sure my corners aren't sticking. Because before, on the original screen, I had issues with the mouse sticking over here in the corner because there was a touch point, a ghost touch point over here, and then the replacement had one over here. Now, I've double checked on this back, and I don't see anything that would be pushing too hard on those corners. It could be something here, but those are really soft, and I'm not really sure that would be the problem. So we're gonna try and see if this works without the back on. Then I'll spin it around, I'll put the back on, and we'll see if any phantom touch points show up. All right, so far so good. All right, I'm gonna say that I don't have any phantom touch points. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spin it around. And I've even tried like moving these cables in such a way that they're not binding up against each other. There's only one way that this fits back on. Being very gentle. And I'm only going to put, I think, one screw in each corner, and then we'll test from there. May give me a better idea of what's going on, but with the other monitor, even after I took the back off, I was still having the issue in that corner. And I would find it very hard to believe that a screen on a device that's meant to be used in harsh conditions could develop an issue by being pinched in the back so very lightly. All right. Moment of truth. There we go. That's how it's supposed to be. We'll test it out. We'll flip it into tablet mode. There you go. All fixed and ready to go. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this repair video. I'm a really big fan of repairing things as opposed to throwing them away. And the Dell Rugged series of laptops
are really, really user friendly when it comes to repairs and replacing of parts. The only thing that I would warn you about with this type of computer is that they all have proprietary hard drive caddies, and those can be kind of expensive. One for this one in particular, I bought used off of eBay for about $40. So I was out $40 for the computer. I was out $40 for the hard drive caddy, and using a charger I had around the house, using a hard drive I had around the house. I also am out roughly $40 for the screen, so $120, and I've got a working dual purpose device. It's not too shabby. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video as much as I have making it. My name is Bryant. This is Reviews for Nerds. Have a great day.